So if you will join me in Nehemiah chapter 5. Again, we're continuing our series, Undaunted Faith. And the subtitle that I've given it is The Faith to Do Something About It. We're going to be looking at Nehemiah chapter 5. I'm reading from the ESV version, in case yours looks a little bit different. So if God has called us, if God has given us, blessed us with an opportunity to be His church, what does that look like? And I think Nehemiah gives us a very vivid picture of what that looks like. So chapter 5 of Nehemiah, verse 1 says, "Now there arose a great outcry of the people and of their wives against their Jewish brothers. For there were those who said, With our sons and our daughters we are many, so let us get grain that we may eat and keep alive. There were also those who said, We are mortgaging our fields, our vineyards, and our houses to get grain because of the famine. And there were those who said, We have borrowed money for the king's tax on our fields and our vineyards. Now our flesh is as the flesh of our brothers, and our children are as their children." Just kind of a side note, maybe have you ever felt like you weren't even human, like you were just somebody's property? That's kind of what they're describing here. Let's keep reading. It says, "Yet we are forcing our sons and our daughters to be slaves, and some of our daughters have already been enslaved, but it is not in our power to help it. For other men have our fields and our vineyards." So kind of the first thing the first point that I would make from this is, where is there an outcry? Where is there an outcry? So Nehemiah, we've seen from the previous messages that he's been hard at work. He had this calling. He's been working. He's been trying to build a wall. He's been trying to gather up the people of Israel. And now we come to this place where it says that there's an outcry. So my question from that is, where is there an outcry? Where is there people being abused, neglected, suppressed, or taken advantage of? Because just like Nehemiah heard of outcry then, church, I believe there are outcries in our day. Mm-hmm. Think about sexual slavery, poverty, locally and globally, drug abuse, neglected children, broken marriages, child abuse, discrimination, racially, socially, and economically. There are outcries in our day. So what outcry is resounding in your ears? Nehemiah heard an outcry. Notice it says, he heard it. So what is the outcry that is resounding in yours? Because God is calling each one of us to something. Just as He called Nehemiah to something, God is calling each one of us, and it's resounding in your ears. What is that outcry? See, Nehemiah heard an outcry because God wanted him to do something about it. If you're hearing something, if something is resounding in your ear, if something is making your heart beat, it's because God is wanting you to do something. God is calling you to do something. In church, I believe that we will be like Nehemiah. We will be the solution. God has placed us, God has placed the church, the body of believers that is known as the church, here for a reason. To be the solution. We're not here just to be some kind of social club where we gather every Sunday to kind of see how the week went. Those are good things. But God has placed the church here for a reason. We will be the solution. Mm-hmm. I want to notice something that kind of stood out to me. Is, we've noticed that the Nehemiah had his call. Like, he got the call from God. He had this burden, this passion to go rebuild the walls. But notice what didn't happen. He had the call, but he didn't let the call make him miss out on the cry. See, we will not get so focused on our call that we miss out on the cry. See, I think it's funny how we can pass up many ministry opportunities in the name of church, right?
Amen.
So, like, We miss out being the church because we're on our way to church. Let me kind of give you a personal example. A few weeks back, I teach a Sunday school, and so I've got kids, and so we're leaving with just enough time to get here. Okay? Right? Just like any good Christian would, right? And so, of course, I'll be driving the speed limit, sort of, maybe a little faster, maybe. But anyway, so we're heading out, and there's a lady that lives in the neighborhood, and you know, we know her, and we know she likes to talk a lot. So my first small prayer to God is, God, I hope she doesn't see us. And so about that moment, she flags us down. And don't ask me what she's doing out so early, you know, drinking coffee and trying to flag people down to talk, but she was. So we stop, and we start talking, and we're talking, and we keep trying to drop these little hints of, yeah, we got to be at church, and yeah, we got to teach Sunday school, and okay, and yeah, and now it helped. So the conversation kept going. But then I felt that God started to say something to me. He's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm giving you an opportunity to minister. And I'd actually prayed for this woman before. And so God's like, I'm giving you an opportunity to minister, to be the church. What are you doing? And he kind of said that words, you know, you're trying to head the church, but are you going to be the church? And so I finally decided, okay, I'm going to listen to God. I'm going to let him take the lead. I put the car in park. And I could tell that there was a lot on her mind. And so I put it in park, and I said, would you like us to pray for you? I sent a message to somebody in my class, told them, hey, we might be late. And she said, and it was just this, I didn't know how she would receive this. I didn't know how she would act when I asked her, but there was almost this sense of urgency, this sense of relief that I had actually asked her to pray. And so, yeah, she said, yes. I got out. We're in the middle of the road. We got to pray with her. We got to minister to her. Isn't it funny, though, that that's how we live life? Like, I've got to get to church, and we bypass being the church. Like, we miss out on all the opportunities. We miss out on the cry because we're too focused on the calling. And we can't do this because it's the same, one and the same. The cry is the call.
Amen.
And guess what? I still made it to Sunday school on time, so it was all good. Let's keep going. So in verse 6, then, he says, I was very angry when I heard their outcry in these words. And I took counsel with myself, and I brought charges against the nobles and the officials, and I said to them, you are exacting interest, each from his brother. And I held a great assembly against them and said to them, we, as far as we are able, have bought back our Jewish brothers, who have been sold to the nations, but you even sell your brothers, that they may be sold to us. And they were silent, and could not find a word to say. So I said, the thing that you are doing is not good. Ought you not to walk in the fear of our God, to prevent the taunts of our nations, the nations our enemies? See, we need to get angry. Church, we need to get angry. There needs to be a holy anger in us. Somebody give me your best mean mug face. Somebody give a mean mug face. Say, you won't like me when I'm angry. Come on. You can do it. Don't be embarrassed. Let's go. Come on. Mean mug. That's probably all I got. Yeah, that's the best one. Now tell somebody, you won't like me when I'm angry. Tell somebody. Tell your neighbor, you won't like me when I'm angry. And they're like, I've heard that before. You won't like me when I'm angry. We've got to get angry. We've got to get angry about something that matters. See, Nehemiah says, I was very angry. We've got to get angry. We've got to start getting angry about things that actually matter. Quit wasting all your emotions on ball games. All right? It's always funny to me how, man, we're probably more guilty of this. Like, oh, no, I don't get emotional. I can't show emotions. But wait until we're watching a ball game and all of a sudden all these emotions come out. So my thing is we need to quit wasting our emotions on games or on sad movies or things like that. We need to get angry about people getting mistreated and looked down upon just because of the color of their skin or maybe the way they smell. We need to get angry about children having to fend for themselves because they've been abandoned. We need to get angry about the exploitations of human beings to satisfy someone's depraved sexual desires. We need to get mad or angry that thousands of people will go to bed hungry tonight. We need to get angry that thousands of people are going to hell as we speak.
Amen.
We need to get angry. And something else that I noticed that it says to prevent the taunts. See, what I'm thinking is that the church is most effective when they're standing for something. See, the church was not put here as an entity to stand still. Like the church was here as an entity to move forward, to tear down the gates of hell. The church is most effective when they're standing for something. See, people taunt because they think it's useless. Like when the church is not doing anything, as we see here, the people were actually oppressing their brothers and their sisters. They were actually doing things that were not edifying people. They were bringing people down. And so they taunted. They said, what difference does your God make? And so people taunt because they think it's useless. But then when they see the church in action, they don't know what to think, right? Maybe you've heard of like, this church down the road, they did this. This church actually met a need, and people are kind of like surprised, which it shouldn't be that way, but they're surprised. They don't even know how to act because they see the church doing what the church is supposed to be doing. Jesus said that it would be by our love that people would actually recognize us as His disciples. Jesus said it's by your love. You might be thinking, well, what does love have to do with anger? Well, try to harm somebody I love, and you'll see how love and anger play. Right? Mm-hmm. That emotion should drive the other. See, in the same way, we need to have so much love for God and His creation that we can't help but do something. We need to have a holy anger compelled by love that brings glory and honor to our God and restoration to His creation. There should be a love that compels us in anger when we see people being taken advantage of. We need to have such a great love that compels us to anger to do something when we see people who are in need. We need to be compelled by love in anger to when we see a kid who's having to just fend for themselves, that we should jump in and do something. We need to have a holy anger compelled by love that brings God glory and honor and restoration to His creation. Let's keep moving. In verse 10 it says, "Moreover, I and my brothers and my servants are lending them money and grain. Let us abandon this exacting of interest and return to them this very day their fields, their vineyards, their olive orchards, and their houses, and the percentage of money, grain, wine, and oil that you have been exacting from them." And then they said, "We will restore these and require nothing from them. We will do as you say." And I called the priests and made them swear to do as they had promised. I also shook out the fold of my garment and said, "So may God shake out every man from his house and from his labor who does not keep this promise. So may he be shaken out and emptied." And all the assembly said, "Amen," and praised the Lord, and the people did as they had promised. Verse 14. "Moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be the governor in the land of Judah, from the 20th year to the 32nd year of Artaxerxes the king, 12 years, neither I nor my brothers ate the food allowance of the governor," as Arnold would say. Verse 15, "The former governors who were before me laid heavy burdens on the people and took from them for their daily ration 40 shekels of silver. Even their servants lorded it over." Keep that in mind. "Even their servants lorded it over the people, but I did not. I did not do so because of the fear of God. I also persevered in the work on this wall, and we acquired no land. And all my servants were gathered there for the work. Moreover, there were at my table 150 men, Jews and officials, besides those who came to us from the nations that were around us. Verse 18. Now what was prepared at my expense, keep that in mind. For each day was 1 ox and 6 choice sheep and birds, and every 10 days all kinds of wine in abundance. Yet for all this I did not demand the food allowance of the governor, because the service was too heavy on this people. So the next point is that we will lead by example. Nehemiah is saying that he didn't wait for somebody to do this. He stepped out and he did. He didn't need somebody to tell him what to do. He led the way. See, church, we are called, we were placed here to lead the way. We weren't placed here to take instructions from somebody else on how to meet needs. We weren't placed here to be secondhand. We were placed here by God to be the solution, to make the way, to lead by example. We will not stand by. We will confront the issues in our day. Won't you say with me? They did, but I didn't. Say with me. They did, but I didn't. See, in verse 15, what Nehemiah is saying is that their servants, all these other people, they actually lorded it over them. He says, but I didn't. They did, but I didn't. See, the reality is that sometimes it's so much easier to go with the flow, right? It's so much easier sometimes just to go with the flow, but you don't have to. You don't have to go with the flow. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. Nehemiah could have very well said, yeah, I'm just going to take what they give me. I'm going to take the pay. I'm going to take whatever it is that they offer me. But he didn't do it. He didn't have. They did, but he didn't have to. So you have zero control over what others do. You have zero control over what somebody else is going to do, what they have done, what they will do. But you have 100% control of how you react, how you act. Just because they did didn't mean that he had to. See, maybe you can say that you know, they did live above their means, but I didn't. And they did ignore the poor, but I didn't. They did ignore the outcry because others had heard the outcry. Others had seen how people were oppressed. Others had seen that they couldn't keep up with the taxation that was being placed on them. But Nehemiah could say, I didn't. Maybe he could say, they did nothing, but I did. I did something. But with saying this, I want to give you a warning. Okay? I want to give you a warning. If you're thinking, okay, God has placed me here, God is burdening me with something, God has given me an outcry, I hear an outcry, I feel like He's calling me to do something about it, let me just go ahead and warn you, if you're feeling like you want to follow through with this, is that it's going to cost you. Remember in verse 18, he said, at my expense. At my expense. It's going to cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you money. It will cost you time. It will cost you something. Anything worth doing or having will cost you. But I love this church because if any church in this area is going to do it, it's going to be this church. You don't believe that? If any church is going to do it in this area, it's going to be this church. If there's going to be any church that meets needs, it's going to be this church. If there's anybody who's going to reach this community, it's going to be this church. And so I want to encourage you to take this challenge. And I think some have taken it, so let me give some examples. Y'all know Portland and Daniel Arnold? They went from 0 kids to like 5 kids in a matter of no time. But they felt God calling them to do it. And I've heard her express several times that she's actually had people maybe trying to discourage her from doing it. And she said, no, God has called me to this. And the reality is that there's such an unreal need for people to foster and people to adopt in this area. It's huge. So should we just stand back and let somebody else do it, church? I don't think so. We are the ones that are supposed to lead by example. People should be looking to our church going, wow, those guys are fostering and adopting like crazy. We need to do what they're doing. We shouldn't be looking at other organizations or other people going, maybe we need to do what they're doing. No, we need to be leading by example. And that's just one example. And I'm just going to throw Courtney and I in this batch because that's kind of what we've done lately. Some of you know that, but we just went from 3 to 5 again, and it's because it's not because it's easy. It's because God is calling us to reach out and love. It's because God is calling us to do something that is hard, but it's worth it. I promise you that it will be worth it. Brent and Jenny Allen, some missionaries that work here in this area, they left they're known. They left their family. They left maybe the security that they felt to come and be missionaries in this area. They heard a cry, they heard a need, and they answered. Robert and Lisa Lehman, their karate mission that they have, their ministry, they're not doing it for profit. And I promise you, it's costing them. I mean, sometimes I look at their, all the stuff they do. I'm like, do they ever sleep? Do they ever do anything else? Because it seems like they're working or doing their ministry. But they're doing it. Angela and Jeremy Painter, we see that they're involved with this kind of thing, but also recently the ministry they did for Pray for Our Nation. Like she heard the call and they answered. And those are just a few examples of how we're leading the way. And so this is why I believe that this church is, if any church in this area is going to do it, it's going to be this church. And I say that to encourage you that maybe if God is calling you, God has placed something in your heart that you need to answer, and that it is possible. And the last point is this: that you should expect to be blessed. Expect to be blessed. I know you probably don't hear that sometimes because we want to front this kind of humble attitude like, oh, well, I'm just doing it for no reason. Right? Like, I'm just doing it for no reason. I don't want to be blessed. But Nehemiah says in verse 19, he says, remember for my good, oh my God, all that I have done for this people. Nehemiah is expecting a reward. Nehemiah is expecting to be blessed. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be blessed. There's nothing wrong with wanting to receive a reward. And I think maybe it's the way we look at this. So let me give you an illustration to kind of help us see how this looks. So just imagine, and I've got a 6-year-old. So I go with my 6-year-old daughter, Ariana. And we go to a park, let's say. And so we show up and I say, okay, honey, I love you. I brought you here to play. Go play. She's like, okay, I love you too, Dad. She goes to play. When she goes out there, she has 2 pieces of candy. She's going to go play, and she sees another kid. This kid doesn't have candy, but she says, okay, I've got 2. I'm going to give them one. And so she gives the other kid a piece of candy. Mm-hmm. And at that very moment, she turns around and looks at me with this huge grin on her face, and I'm looking at her, and I know what she's done. I've seen what she did, and I'm nodding with approval. I'm like, girl, that's great. Good job. And so this fills her up with this great joy because of what she's done. You see, this is the kind of reward that I'm talking about. This is the kind of blessing that I'm talking about. There's nothing wrong with that. She didn't do it because she's trying to earn my love because I said, I love you, go ahead and go play. She's doing it from that love. And in the same way, amen, we can expect to be blessed because we're not doing it to try to earn God's love. We're doing it from God's love. We're doing all these good things from God's love. We're meeting needs from God's love. We're healing the hurting from God's love. We're adopting orphans from God's love. We're meeting needs of people who are lonely from God's love. We're not doing it to try to earn God's love. But we do like to look around every now and see God's approval. Because He's our Father. And He loves us. And so we can expect to be blessed. And I promise you that if you step out, if you lead the way, it's going to cost you, but it's going to be a greater blessing. And the last way that it's going to be a blessing is this, that we get to show people Jesus. See, all of Scripture points to Jesus. And this is just one more example. See, we get to show, just like Nehemiah showed, that Jesus is the perfect Nehemiah. Jesus is the perfect Nehemiah. See, Jesus heard our cry. See, Jesus heard our cry that was hopeless because we were bound to sin. We were headed to hell. We were condemned because of sin, and we couldn't pull ourselves out of it. And He heard our cry. And so He came to our rescue. And Jesus showed His anger towards the religious authorities. If you've ever read the Gospels, you can see how He demonstrated His frustration and anger towards the religious authorities of that day, who tried to oppress people with unbearable laws and rules. And Romans says that the wrath of God is revealed against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who try to suppress the truth. See, God gets angry. God has a holy, righteous anger. And then from that, He paid the price. It cost Him everything. It cost Him everything. So we get to show people, just like Nehemiah did, Jesus. By answering the call, by hearing the cry, by responding, by leading the way, by bearing the cost, we get to show people Jesus. And so today, I don't know what God is calling you to. I don't know if God is tugging at your heart and saying, you've never accepted me as your Savior. Maybe that's you. Maybe God is calling you to some kind of service, some kind of ministry. Maybe you've kind of been pushing it off, and God is maybe tugging again. Maybe God is reminding you, hey, you remember what that cry, that outcry that you heard, that need? Maybe this is God speaking to you. And so what I'd like to do is we're going to begin to play a song, and I want to give you this opportunity to come and pray. I'm going to stand here, and Danny's back there, and he'll be ready. Mike is back there. We'll be ready to pray with you.
Amen.
We'll be ready to answer any questions that you have. If you feel like this is something that you're scared of, come and pray. Because this is what it's about. God calling you and you answering. Scott, you can go ahead and play that song.